Warrior of Light is getting his EX job upgrades this Wednesday, and the Final Fantasy 1 collaboration is coming with it. Now, this is a pretty big moment for a lot of people that have Warrior of Light but did not pull for King Mont. So people are wondering if he's going to be as good as King Mont. You know, how can he tank physical damage and magic damage? So we're going to talk about his upgrades. We're going to talk a little bit about his tanking capabilities, and then we'll make that decision on whether or not he's worth you EXing. Thank you as always to warofthevisionscalc.com for the information used in this video, and I'll also quickly show the materials needed for EXing, so feel free to take a screenshot of that for your own records. Let's start by taking a look at Warrior of Light stats. So at level 99, he was your typical tank. He had good HP, he had some defense, and he had some spirit. Now, if you don't know, Warrior of Light has the Spellblade subclass, so he's able to tank magic damage and physical damage depending on how you want to set him up. His agility was just okay at 52, and he actually had pretty high luck at the time. Now, when we go to 120, he's getting big boosts everywhere that he needs. He gets a little bit more agility up to 56. He gets more defense, lots more attack, definitely a very significant amount of HP. So all around good EX stats. Now you might be wondering if Warrior of Light is one of those EXs that you can leave at 115 rather than taking to 120, and I have the stats to show you whether or not that's a good idea. So you can see here that HP is a pretty big jump. It's 686 HP to go from 115 to 120. Otherwise, there's not really much of a reason to do it for stats because he doesn't get any extra agility. You know, there's not a huge jump in attack, not that that's what you need him for, and things like dexterity and luck, like it's really small differences. So the key thing here is, does he need that extra almost 700 HP? And yeah, he's a tank, so he definitely wants every little bit of HP he can get. The other question is his new 120 skill worth the trouble? Next, let's take a look at the skills that Wol gets upgraded from his EX job. So first off, at 107, you're going to get an upgrade to Invincible Shield. Now this reduced the physical damage taken for the target by 35%. This is actually going to change to all damage. That means magic and physical damage. That is a really important change. That means that when you're not using the Spellblade sub job, you can still tank some magic hits in some mixed parties, and that's pretty significant. Then Breath of Life gets upgraded at 115. So the big thing with Breath of Life was that it had a cast time, and at times I was able to kill a wall before they finished casting. Now it does not have a cast time, and it gets an extra cast opportunity. This is really key because in guild battle, you will often be able to heal yourself right up to close to full or full before you go and fight the enemy. That's a pretty big advantage to have a tank that can heal themselves by such a significant amount. Now the thing with Breath of Life is that he's not going to use it if he has an attack available. He's going to be going after your opponent. So he's not always going to be using it, but it's already proven that this is a good skill with a cast time, with only one cast. There's so many ways that it was useful. It could be useful in live PvP as well, that I think that making it instant is just going to be incredibly powerful. Now it's time to talk about Wol's 120 skill, and I think it's a pretty good one. So this is a slash attack with a bit of range and your typical 5 square AoE. It has 2 casts and it costs 29 AP, and it does 165 potency damage. This also will grant regen, which is a 10% health per turn buff, to himself for 3 turns. That's fantastic. Something I've learned very recently is how good regen is. So King Mont is able to apply regen to himself and others, and that is very powerful, especially when your HP pool is super high, like it would be for Wol and for King Mont. So being able to put regen on yourself is good, but how reliably can you do it? Super reliably when it's paired with an attack. So the fact that this is on an attack means that Wol is going to be using it even, when he wouldn't be using other buffs, because he's by an enemy and he has to attack because that's what the AI dictates. So he's going to be able to be applying regen to himself throughout the match, refreshing it, well, at least 2 times that is, and that's going to give him more longevity, and I think it's going to be, pretty significant for a tank to be able to apply regen to themselves. It's not something you have to build into your opener. where you have to figure out your agility and your TP skills. It's something that he's just going to do. And with that, it's also one of his only AoEs that he has on his kit. And with his increased attack, this is a way that he's going to be able to hit not just your opponent's tank, but their DPS as well, or their healer if they're stacking up with their tank. And no, Wol is not going to be your carry DPS, but he is going to contribute to the total amount of damage that you can do to people. And we do have a new weapon coming out that is light attack up that will make him just a little bit more powerful. I'm going to do a quick comparison of King Mont and Wol now, but if you want an even more in-depth comparison, then Orange has a really good deep dive where he compares Wol to King Mont, compares him to Rain, and kind of talks about tanking different types of damage. Now, Wol can tank magic and physical damage. He can do both. He can be focused for one or the other. The fact that he has Spellblade sub is really significant because magic resist and magic barrier are just very strong skills. But then he could also just be using his new barrier that tanks both. King Mont, on the other hand, he doesn't have spirit, he doesn't have magic resist, he does have elemental resist, and he has a really powerful counter ability, but he's just not going to be the same as Wol in that regard, so that is a big one-up for Wol. So the other thing I want to talk about here is agility. King Mont has way more agility. He can raise his agility. He has movement. He has all this stuff. He has the passive hate so that he's able to grab people right away. But as a lot of you might know, King Mont is actually losing hate because it's so hard to get him to use Proclamation in time when you really, really want him using Bells. You really want him to possibly use Mercy's Grace or Breath of Serenity or whatever it is. With Wol, he is going to have to use his defensive buff that also, you know, it gives him some defense, some spirit, it gives him some hate, but then he has a really easy way of maintaining that hate, and it's similar to what we talked about with Regan. It's taunting spell, so it's an attack spell. You can turn off his other abilities, you can make sure that he taunting spells, you can ensure that Mont is continuously grabbing hate and really becoming the sole focus of your opponent. And with King Mont, that's not as easily accessible to you because Proclamation is a TP buff, and if King Mont is in range of your enemies, he's just going to be attacking, so he won't be able to use any, you know, pro hate skills, whereas Wol can. So when I look at the two of them, I see Wol, while he requires some setup to get the hate initially, he's going to be able to hold that hate much more easily than King Mont can. I also think that Wol overall is going to just have more defensive abilities, the self-heal, things like the barrier that he can apply, and then his limit burst that gives him protect and shell. So people can break barriers now. People can dispel things like Mercy's Grace. They can dispel things like defense and spirit upgrades, but we can't do anything about protect and shell as far as I'm aware, and that's actually really significant for Wol. The other thing with his special is it's a barrier breaker himself, so it's a 3-hit attack that's going to be breaking any physical barriers on the range of people that it hits, all the while making Wol more of a tank. So while King Mont is faster, he's got status effects with Disable and Berserk, he can, you know, buff up his team a little bit better with his elemental resist and his Regan and all this other things that King Mont can do. You know, he can get some pretty big power and AoEs, all sorts of things to his kit. I think if you're looking at from a pure tank perspective, because their stats are pretty comparable, that Wol is just going to be able to play that specific tank role, and definitely he's going to be able to tank magic better than King Mont will. And one more thing about Wol is his element. So light is a very supported element with our VC abilities, and Wol is going to be able to take advantage of that. Other light units like Yuna will be able to work well with him with the light attack up, the HP up. There's lots of synergy for light units, so even though Dark is a problem, and Wol does have a very big weakness in Dark Pierce, overall I think that there's so much synergy with light units that Wol is going to benefit from that. So we can see things as well like the new Carbuncle, and with Wol's passive, that he will be able to stack so much defense debuff resistance that people like Tidus or somebody like Orlandu won't be able to break Wol's defense and break through his defenses without some sort of defense penetration or resist penetration. So at this point you're wondering, well, what do you think, Mysidia? Should I EX Wol? And this is what I think. If you already have King Mont, then no. You should just save your Visior, and that's okay. You have somebody that can fulfill your tanking needs. But if you have Wol already, and you don't have King Mont, then yeah, you should probably EX him because he's really good. This is a great time to do it. He's got some good equipment that you can farm, and I think that he's going to have a lot of longevity. So definitely a safe EX all the way to 120, and you can always, you know, do whatever you're able to do and budget for the rest to complete in the barracks if that's the kind of thing that you want to do. That's going to be it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I'll be back soon with a Salir Valentine Day banner video, I guess. That totally caught me by surprise. It is actually the final 2 weeks of school for me, so I'm pretty busy, but I'll try to get that video out as soon as I can, so you know, you can use that information however you wish. Otherwise, we'll see you all in the comment section. I'll see you all on my Discord, which if you haven't joined, please come on and join us and say hi. And then otherwise, I will see you in the next video.